Hey guys, hey guys, hope everybody's doing well. Out in the world of crypto. Um, Things are populating in some really cool little areas here. Um, we're going to be going over some news, some cool stuff in regards to the market, and as we are watching the markets kind of fall apart, we're going to be seeing some other cool things related to it. Certain news events are going to happen. I mean, obviously, we can't predict the future, but we try to make sure that we are engaged in the market. Um, really might see some crazy stuff going on here. So, about USDC, um, we're talking about the whole entire US. News wise, we're going to be talking about the markets and the actual system actually what's it called happening. So basically, the market is falling apart when it comes to crypto, or supposedly, right? So if that does happen, we're going to then see maybe a USDC digital currency, a US digital currency kick in, and they're talking about it. I know that the report that came out Friday talked about them. We're going to be reading over that as well, and then also in addition going over some of the points that they had. We're going to be going over some of the other things regarding the reports coming out this week, like jobless claims, things like that. We'll actually jump right in that to right now, and then we'll go into other stuff. So um, right now for this week, we have coming up the for jobless claim for job I'm not for jobless claims, but for the economic reports. And typically, I put this into the Moonrock um, reports. You can go and capture if you guys go to moonrock.com or Moonrock TV on YouTube, you'll be able to see our some of our that's what I want to look for. Some of the movements. I don't know what is going on in my head. We're basically going to be doing. We're basically going to be going over Moon. Go to Moonrock TV if you want to capture the news sources that I'm actually going to be talking about. But it's really more or less dealing with. And pardon me, because I need to get some water here. Excuse me for that. All right, let's start this over again. Basically, we're going to be going over economic reports. We're also going to be going over the charts and going over some of the reports that came out in the news regarding cryptocurrency and the U.S. or the House, the government here, and how they are looking or what they're doing. I personally think they don't really know much and they don't understand it much. So it's going to be something that's going to be really interesting as they keep moving forward into the markets. So that's going to go into the economic reports here real quick. So on Monday, really isn't anything going on. So they're going to try to find the movement up. So if we start to see the market really push up in the beginning of the week, we'll probably see a turnaround at the end of the week. Just giving you guys heads up because we have some major news coming out. So Tuesday for tomorrow, there is going to be the building permits. Canada has the core CPI. Sometimes this actually never really affects us, but it might. Who knows? Markets moving, things are crazy going on, so who knows? But just giving that heads up. But the real week is one, the crude oil, um, the crude oil report, and the reason why that's important is simply because based off of the movements that are happening within crude oil, it will affect the S&P 500. And basically, if there's a lot of supply, which means that a lot of people are not driving, it's going to drive price down into the market or as the market drops. And so as the crude oil market drops, so will the cost of doing business because a lot of the businesses here in America and honestly around the world, right? They use crude oil. So as they use crude oil and stuff like that, if the price costs less for them to transfer or transport um, goods and services, basically the trucking companies, then the price of the transportation gets mitigated and goes down with it. Now, that's not what we're seeing, right? Because we know that the U.S. government is out there using the U.S. Reserve, so it's gonna be really interesting to see as things progress with the demand when our government officials get elected. So that's gonna be really interesting to see. And are they really gonna try to? Um, are they gonna try to restock the reserves? I'm pretty sure they will, but with this world and what's going on, it's crazy to think that they might, so, or might not. Also, we have the FOMC um, on on Wednesday, so also be ready for that. That's going to be 2 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, and then the crude oil will be at 10 o'clock. Or yeah, it'll be 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. So just to give you guys heads up what's going on there, or excuse me, 10:30. So that all kind of correlates together. Then coming into Thursday, real hot is going to be where is it at? Here we are. The initial jobless claims, that's going to be at 8:30 on Thursday. So be ready for that. Obviously, you know how much of a effect that has on the economy and what's going on there. So we'll see what happens. And then Friday, where is it at? We had the Fed stepping in, whether they're going to move interest rates up or down. They've already been they've just been saying they're going to move it a full basis point um, within the market. So that's going to be pretty crazy. A whole entire interest rate up, one interest rate up completely. So it's going to be really interesting to see what happens with that. Has been priced into the market yet? We don't know. We'll see. We'll find out. So just give you guys heads up with that. Also, some really interesting things in regards to crypto and some of the stuff that we have going on. So I'm going to bring this up here real quick, and we can talk about this. So when it comes to Bitcoin, or not Bitcoin, but when it comes to the Fed, right, and them going through and looking at the markets, don't tell me my web. There we go. And I am looking. I don't know what happened. Is this it? Correlation. Here we are. It's actually the White House briefing on the actual news here, which is really interesting. But I'm just going to read through some major points that. Where is it at? President. So we'll just go right into the report then, because I pretty much was looking at, where was it? Who was it that said it? Digital assets pose meaningful risk. Here we go. Chooses digital assets pose meaningful risk on consumer investors and businesses. Prices of those assets can be highly volatile. The current global market capitalization of cryptocurrency is approximately about 1/3 of its November 2021 peak. Still, sellers commonly mislead consumers about digital assets, futures, and expected returns, and non-compliance with applicable laws and regulations remain widespread. One study found that almost a quarter of digital coins offerings had disclosed or transparency problems like plagiarized. Wow, I can't believe I can't say that. Plagiarized documents or false promises of guaranteed returns, outright fraud, scams, and theft in digital assets markets asset markets are on the rise, according to FBI statistics reporting monetary losses in digital assets. Scams were nearly 600% higher in 2021 than in the year before. Since taking office, the Biden-Harris administration and independent regulations have worked to protect consumers and ensure fair play in digital assets markets by issuing guidance, increasing enforcement resources, and aggressive pursuing fraudulent actors. As outlined in the report released today, the administration plans to take the following administration actions. The report encourages, and we can see just right here, to aggressively pursue investigations and enforcement actions against unlawful practices in the digital assets piece. Second, to reduce or to redouble their efforts to monitor consumer complaints and enforce against unfair, deceptive, or abusive practices, to address current and emergent risks in the digital assets ecosystem. Regulatory and law enforcement agencies are also urged to collaborate to address acute digital assets risks facing consumer investors and businesses. In addition, agencies are encouraged to share data on consumer complaints regarding digital assets, ensuring each agency activities are maximally effective. Lead public awareness efforts to help consumers understand the risk involved with digital assets. So basically, they're going to be coming in and really just going hard after the scammers, really going hard after people who are not helping out. The primary people here is the Federal Literacy Education Commission will lead public awareness efforts to help consumers understand the risk involved with digital assets. So these are certain things that they're going to be going after. Also, later on in the report, they talk about going after and looking at stable coins like USDC, and a few other the ones that we've been using. And they're actually talking about going through and create the US government creating their own digital asset so that they can go through and start to do what they want to do, print more money just by the click. So it's going to be really interesting to see how this plays. I really feel if they were to do something like that, it would bring such validity to the crypto market. And instead of using, let's say, Ethereum, um, Ethereum's stable coin or BNB stable coin, you could actually just use the U.S. government's stable coin that they would create. I could only imagine the effect that would actually happen on the have effect on the market as well. So it's just really interesting to see what is going to happen with it. In addition to that, unfortunately, they'd be able to track that U.S. dollar being traded back and forth in the DeFi world, unless you trade it out for use, let's say Monero or something of that nature. But still, even then, they could probably figure out how to track that. So there's pros and cons to both aspects of things. But so it's going to be really interesting as we move forward in this digital world, and as the U.S. government starts to really bring in regulation and start to really pursue the bad actors, that have been really doing a lot of harm in crypto. So I'm kind of excited about everything that's kind of going on here, but also a little weary with a lot of the laws coming out. So we'll find out what happens in DeFi. So yeah, that was one of the ones that I just want to kind of go over real quick and kind of see, because those things are they're big. They're really big. The other thing I'm going to talk about is the correlation within Bitcoin to the S&P 500. Now, we've been going over the charts, and I've been talking about how when the U.S. market goes down, so does Bitcoin, right? It's one of those things that we've definitely been paying attention to. So we're going to jump right in here real quick, just into the daily here. We can actually look at it. So we can see here that the day pretty much went down first, and then we moved up. So we can see here as the market was opening up into the Globex low, we went down first and then we moved up, right? So we can now check out real quick the Bitcoin. And you can see here, from last night we went down, now we're rallying up. right? So you can see the correlation of it in regards to the markets. Now, it's interesting to see that the markets here are moving against us, in or with Ethereum. I think Ethereum is one of those things that is very interesting, just overall in general. Um, as you all know, like I covered the merge. So the merge, you can see that I was talking about how far it would go down to, and some of just the things we want to be able to play off of, right? Shorting and going long on these assets. As you guys noticed, it did hit our 1282 mark, and then we did rally pretty hard off of that up into the 400 period moving average on the daily, or excuse me, on the 5 minute. You can see here that as we are moving up, we are bouncing off and are sustaining our movement above our demand zone right here. So I was telling you guys yesterday, those who are in on the Moonrock chat, to be able to, be looking at this area here. If we do go through, we're definitely, and I even said I'd be shocked if we just slice right through the 182 mark. That 182 mark is a strong area. I just would doubt it. So you see it there, right there, that we did bounce off of that, and we are continuing up. I did bring this up here that we would see it bounce off of here and probably see it come back and touch these areas up in here, just simply because we do not have a moving average, or excuse me, we have a moving average sitting right here, and it's just like I said, if they move it up in the evening or they move it up the first of the week, they'll probably turn it around at the end of the week to drop it down even further. So be looking for it to come back and probably retrace into the 1475, 1400 mark. It's just something that we're definitely looking for Ethereum. S&P 500, like I said, this is something that we're moving into. So the S&P 500, as you can see, is a little bit different, simply because they don't have the few trading days out. But I do see, so we did bounce off of our weekly moving average, or excuse me, our weekly demand zone. So we saw it come down, bounce up, push up to here. Then we hit the monthly moving average right here, which is, I've got to move here now down. Boom, right here. And then that weekly, let's see here real quick. That weekly needs to go right here now. So we're going to come, and now you're going to probably see us playing off of that S&P 500 in this area here. We're definitely going to hit these levels and definitely see it most likely turn around. I do see us the ES probably tapping, coming back up to that 39.88. But it also depends on the daily. So if you can see here, that 8 is sitting right here as well on that daily. So I can see us playing around in this area here, coming back up and then playing off of this. So, but this is sooner or later going to act as resistant level. Be paying attention to the bounce up from here to hit this lower level, to drop, and then continue up until we hit this, the 8 moving average, as well as the weekly 20 period moving average there. So you'll see just kind of a ping pong effect with that. Now, the other thing I wanted to bring up, and this is really interesting, and I was looking at two views here. So it's in regards to the correlation and then the capital appreciation in regards to the markets. Now, I forget, and this guy's, and I posted the link in Moonrock. The guy's name is Plan B. He's on Twitter. So he basically talks about here, and I think it's something noteworthy to look at, right? Is that Bitcoin and the S&P 500 are correlated. However, to the same period, that S&P increases from 1,000 or 1K to 4K. Bitcoin jumped from $10 to 20,000. 4x versus 20 or 2000x. Completely different words. Short-term moves are noise. Long-term trends are signals. Right. So this is true, right? We definitely saw that within it for the correlation. So as you go further down, though, this gentleman here, Tim Stoley, which I've been kind of checking him out on some of his stuff. He actually writes a Medium article, which I found very interesting. So you guys can go through, you can follow this stuff here. But I'll read this through, and then hopefully have some of you guys kind of go into this period here. Over the past few years, a multitude of perspectives have incentivized investors to expose their portfolio to cryptocurrency domain. Probably the most straightforward argument considered the underlying blockchain technology as one of the most revolutionary developments in modern financial history. It essentially portrays cryptocurrency as technology assets which are prone to above average growth, much like the NASDAQ assets in traditional finance. Then there is the investor. All right, let's get right into the meat. It's down in here. The question now arises whether crypto should be considered a new asset class, or in other words, fixed income bonds. It goes into they partly determine the characteristics of the investment portfolio. Sorry, jump back up here. Of the investment portfolio and reflect its underlying strategy. Think, for instance, of the famous 40 or 60-40 rule. This is for which states that a good portfolio is allocated to both stock and bonds for 60% to 40% respectively. So you want basically the rule like this ensures that portfolio is well diversified, identifying lining exposures to underlying, identifying limiting exposures to downward price movement. So basically, this means that you would want 60% of your portfolio in stocks, 40% of your portfolio in bonds and CDs, things like that, or precious metals, as you can see here, right? Things like that would actually be able to hold the value of whatever you have your investment in. So when stocks plummet, you're able to go in and, long story short, mitigate your drop on your whole entire money into the market. So here you go. So the question now arises whether cryptocurrency or crypto should be considered a new asset class, or in other words, whether the shared characteristics of assets across the crypto space makes them significantly different from other assets like stocks and bonds. In the context of the government, this is definitely the case. This role is fulfilled by many different entities. For instance, blockchain and or application developers, miners, validators, and many more. Obviously, there are no similarities here with other asset classes. Asset supply is also a critical aspect in which significant differences can be found. If we, for example, take a look at the foreign exchange asset classes, central banks hold the power to adjust the monetary supply. This enables them to increase or decrease the value of the currency that is held by the public. We find similar features for other asset classes, where companies can issue or buy back stocks and bonds, thus controlling their market value and affecting portfolios of investors. In contrast, crypto assets are subject to a predetermined supply schedule that is defined by the underlying protocol. And while some protocols may change over time, any adjustments are open source and transparent. There are many more reasons to support the statement that crypto assets form their own asset classes based on fundamental differences, for which I refer to the book Crypto Assets by Bernstein and Tatar, where correlation comes in. So far, we have argued from a theoretical perspective that crypto is its own asset class. But is that perspective enough? For some individuals, it might be. But for the full acknowledgement, we need the practitioners on our side. They are, after all, the ones who are building portfolios, seeking the highest returns for the lowest risk. Once again, consider the 64 rule from earlier. In order for this rule to actually work, i.e. diversify the investments, it is important for the considered assets classes to actually behave differently. If your 60% allocation in stock drops at at the very least, you don't want your 40% bond allocation to go down with it. Now, do you gauge whether an asset adheres to the principle? Would combining crypto assets and other asset classes result in a well-diversified portfolio? The fundamental basics we discussed before have some impact on price movement, but they do not guarantee that the dynamics are fully independent. We also need to take some account that any hidden or less obvious drivers can impact two totally separate asset classes in the same manner. In the end, we want to find some measure that accurately captures the actual relationship between multiple price series, and contrary to popular belief, it is quite hard to do that. And then he goes, read part 2 here. So one of the things, and I want to bring this up because I think you can see here, as an example, the best illustration. You guys, you can come here and you can actually read through this. I'm actually going to add this here. Copy. I did not see that. So let me go ahead and get this places in here. So one of the things I want to bring up, because I think when it comes to correlation assets, right, we sit there and we try to gauge whether or not it's the same thing, right? And we know that it's not. So because Bitcoin is at still such a beginning stage within crypto, you're going to have these huge pushes and sell-offs. And because of that, you need to understand that it may correlate, but the correlation is like a 50 to 100 to 1 in some cases, right? That we see literally where the S&P 500 may lose, maybe, 4%, right? But then we see, or it may lose, 5%, right? But then all of a sudden we see Bitcoin lose 50% of its, value, what it was sitting at. So, or let's take Ethereum, for example, right? Ethereum, literally, we were watching Ethereum this past weekend, right? And like Ethereum goes from, literally 1,700, 1,600 a few weeks ago. Now we're down at 1,300. 1,300, 1,350 here. This is not, this is crazy. This is, what is that? 7, that's almost 30%, 40% of the value just disappeared in a few days. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That equates to the 2008 drop, right? That literally, I think it went from 1,500 to 800, 900, right? That's the 2008 drop. So we're talking massive differences in movement within crypto. So to understand that, it's important to sit there and say, yeah, we do follow, and we do, and it does kind of correlate. But in relationship to percentages, we're talking easily, 2,000%, 1,000% differences in movement. Whereas, and the reason why I say that is because you're talking, crypto, right? I think over the weekend, I think it may be, or not crypto, but traditional markets maybe moved 1%, 2% down, right? As we see it. Whereas crypto, we just lost a ton of market capitalization within the market. So I just sit there and I look at that, just understand that, so that when you're buying at high levels, you need to make sure that you understand the risk of crypto, that you could see an asset go from, especially if you're working with DeFi and many of these new projects that are out there, you could be in an asset where you buy in at 2 cents, 1 cent, and then it go down to 0.0000, right, where you lose almost 90%, 98% of you put in $100, and now within 3 to 4 days it's in at $1. So there's but it's still a good project, and they still got a lot of good projects out there that are like that are sitting at these levels. So just understanding that's really important. The other thing I do want to bring up here as well and it's actually pretty cool. Give me 1 second. There is this guy. Um, oh, not that one. There was a guy who bought Asia's. Oh, give me a second. This is not the one I'm looking for. Is it this? Nope. Trying to find the screen, my friends. Here we go. Here we are. Here's this is nuts. Like I was reading through this and I was just like, wow. Where is it at? Is this it? Well, this is one thing I want to read about the thing. Read about the White House. So the reports from the Treasury Department, 3 of them released Friday, largely recommends that the government continues assessing crypto risk, keeping up enforced actions, and push forward with work on digital dollar without recommending the U.S. should have one, right? Should have one. The White House also, um, Office of Science, Technology, and Policy likewise published a report assessing the technical aspects of the digital dollar, while the Commerce Department reports assets competitiveness more broadly. The Justice Department said it would launch a digital assets coordinated network, a group of 150 federal prospectors nationwide who would specialize in investigating and prosecuting crypto crimes. So these are really unique things that are going to be coming into the circumstance. So I'm actually going to add this as well um, to the Moon Rock. If you go down to the comments, not comment section, but the description section, you'll see that this is in the White House report, under the White House report area. So yeah, I just want you guys to check this stuff out. This stuff's really important. But I'm looking for the Fort Knox guy. Give me 1 second. I think it's here. D5, maybe it's up here. Oh, here we go. It's basically a Chinese crypto billionaire buys Asia's Fort Knox. So this is nuts. He goes through and you can read this. This is actually really funny. But he goes through and he basically just says he's going to come in, he's going to take over, and he's going to do a bunch of good things with them. But I just find that you have a crypto billionaire who comes in and it's just like, I mean, such a boss to be able to sit there and be like, yeah, I'm going to buy the Fort Knox for Asia. I mean, who has the ability to be able to do that, right? So I just think that's really interesting to see what's actually going on there. Um, Lack of institutional crypto engagement persists. Yeah, so that's the other thing. It's I was as I was trading the merge on Thursday night going into Friday, I was definitely seeing futures. If you go to like the CME futures and a few other places, you can actually see the sellers kind of stepping in. So it's really interesting. If you I was, so I sit there and I tell people, um, it's important to look at traditional markets and what's actually going on as well, so that you can sit there and gauge. And if you're an active trader, you can see in the traditional markets where the traditional finance people are sitting at. You go into the futures and you can see certain things stepping in, and they can hide themselves, right? Because most crypto guys are in this area buying. So it was just a really interesting thing to sit there and see what was actually going on within the markets. I remember when uh, Bitcoin got listed on the CMC, and I remember telling a friend of mine, he goes, "Oh, it's gonna go to 1 million." I said, "It's not gonna go to 1 million because the CMC doesn't play like that. They want to drop it to get it at a really, really low price, and then from there they'll allow the market to go up. But it's not. And this is when the market was at 20,000 back in 2017, 2018. And this is and again, I was still a traditional trader. I wasn't trading crypto at the time. And so it was one of those things that I sat there going, we need to be, like I was definitely mindful of the foolery that the institutions do, right? So that they can play. So they'll play, they'll create their own market to play against it, right? And then put in shorts and then play it off of other investors. So it was one of those things that was happening with Ethereum. And so it's just to be paying attention to that. And as we move forward, we'll definitely check it out. So let's go ahead and jump now right into the actual charts here. So we've already gone over Bitcoin real quick, but I'll just quickly bring up analysis. So it is the beginning of the week. We can see here that, I believe this is the weekly chart. One thing, no, this is the daily. This is the weekly. So this is our weekly chart on Bitcoin here. You can see that we dropped from this area now, so we're definitely moving. We did fall below our line in the sand here, so we're still above it. So it's definitely one of those things that we're gonna see. I don't know why that was green, but I feel like we'll definitely be pushing through probably this week when it comes to Bitcoin. I've already brought in the S&P 500. Now, the S&P 500, we do have the supply here, right, that we were talking about. Oh, excuse me. We do have our demand zone that's sitting right here. So, which is then previous supply, right? Previous supply becomes new demand, rallies up, hit our higher time from SMAs. We see the sell-off in these areas here. For the futures, now, the S&P 500, as we start to continue down, okay, I do believe they're going to try to push up even more, right? So try to gauge either, you can go, like I said, go into two places. Find resistance here at the previous supply or previous net demand, which is come supply, and jump up and hit the 20 period moving average, right? We can see here as well as our next real spot is this area here. Excuse me. Sorry about that. I didn't want to cough your guys' ear. So you can see here also, if it does continue down, we'll see some blips right in this area, but I do see the S&P 500 coming down at this 3707 area. Maybe not, I can see it happening this week, but if not this week, over the next week or two, seeing it's coming down into this area. We also see that our 200 period moving average is moving up in these levels, as well as our 50 period moving average is still right in this area for the monthly. We have not switched monthly charts yet. The reason why I do see it's coming out to this area, like I was saying, is because this area right here on the weekly and monthly is pretty much an area here that we can swing through. There's been a lot of trading, and it's just, I see it's coming down into this lower parts of the area. On our daily chart, again, we are tapping that area. They are putting in buyer wicks here, guys. So again, we could come back up, and this is why I also think we could come back up into this level here, simply because we do have a slip and slide all the way up into these levels here. Makes things much easier for it to get through. Below here, I see it's coming down into the 27, 26 area mark. And now let's go ahead and go into the NASDAQ. You can see here that we're hitting our weekly zones and daily zones. So here's the weekly zone sitting. We did tap, we bounced out of it. We also have our daily zone sitting right here, kicking in as it's moving. Now let's check out the weekly movement. Here we are. And then our monthly. Monthly is moving down, which indicates a really strong push down. To add in, we also have a very strong seller wick when it comes to bouncing off that monthly NQ or the NASDAQ SMA. That A is really holding strong as well. So making sure that you guys are mindful of that. As we move forward, I could see us pushing through down into these levels here and then coming back. So pushing down, and we might even consolidate for a while here, even into the next month. But if it doesn't, we start to see like a lower high, with a steady base, right? We're seeing this, right? It's almost like a basketball that basically loses its, like you push it down and it just slow. It's called a descending triangle. If we start to see that type with more buyer wicks, that should tell you what we want to do, right? It might look like it's moving down, but they're actually putting in their buys. We'll push it down and then rally it back up, which will be probably push it down to the 11,000 mark here on the weekly moving average. So, and then push it back up. So we'll see what happens there. Mind you, we are coming into the fall and winter, right? So I could see us doing a Christmas rally into these levels here as well, or a drop off and then a Christmas rally, right? If they do decide to do that. Next, I want to bring up that daily here real quick. We have like I said, we have a big push. This could literally, if it decides to push up, we could see the NQ come up to the 2900, or excuse me, 12,913 area here, and come back and retest these moving averages because they're putting in a slip and slide all the way up into here. So, just want to give you heads up there. We do have more air up here right now, so I could see that happening, or at least come up and test. But we also have a slip and slide all the way down to our 200 period moving average on the weekly. So let's look at the dollar here real quick. We are putting in some pretty good seller wicks here, guys. From last week, we did put it in pretty strong. We did stay below our supply area here that we have marked. So, and we are bouncing in between this. So is this going to push up for the week or not? We don't know yet, but we do see some pretty major movements. Excuse me, not week, daily. That weekly area here, we did bounce off of the 8 moving average where it rallied back up. We are showing some strength. Actually, we're showing strength on the weekly, but that daily mark here, I do see us at least coming down, retesting at least that 20 period moving average before we rally up for the week on the dollar. Jumping into Bitcoin real quick, like we've already gone over it. Bitcoin, we are bouncing off of the line in the sand there and we might continue all the way back up into the daily crossover here where the 8, which is the 20,133 mark here. So be ready for that. We also have that weekly and monthly zone in this area here. So be mindful of that 2138 to the 132. Just for that, if it does start to rally, once we show green here, we should continue to start to rally at least up to the 2138 mark, and then start finding supply stepping in and sellers start to step in. Let's go into the drawdown Ethereum ad nauseum. Let's check out Bitcoin here. Bitcoin, or excuse me, BNB, not Bitcoin, but BNB is pushed through our supply, or our demand right here. And so we should be looking to see it then continue down to the next spot, which is most likely going to be in our weekly 234 area. We are showing weakness here because they put in a lower low from here, or from here to here. So be ready for it to continue up. Excuse me, be ready for this to continue down because we are pushing up for Monday or Tuesday. It probably push up first and hit the 20 period moving average, which we should pull up real quick. 20 period moving average is right at this level here. We have that weekly right here now, starting to turn around. So be ready for this to actually come back, even push even further down. So push up, come up and test between our 2 areas here, and then a sell off into our lower areas here on that weekly. On the daily, pretty much is the same thing. Be ready for it to drop off to here. It's going to pull up XRP. Now, if XRP looks pretty similar to what we're seeing right now, I'm just going to move along with it. I had some people kind of was talking to me about kind of a lot of the charts look the same, right? So we want to, I don't want to bore you guys. It's pretty much the same thing. So, but we are putting a higher low here. So XRP is showing some strength here, actually really good strength. So be ready for this to actually even rally up. This is actually really interesting as we're looking at this 100 period moving average, bouncing, finding support off of that, off of our daily zone here. So that's really interesting to see us rally up above here. I'm going to mark this here. I'm going to change this up here. We're going to go right here. So this area right here is maybe where we might come back down to before we rally back even harder up. So be ready for that. That's a real interesting area. Alrighty. And then let's go ahead and pull up that weekly. See if the weekly has changed. We're still ping-ponging off of that weekly chart now. Similar to what we're seeing. So definitely see this definitely happen, man. Bouncing off of this period, couple period moving averages. You can see here, this is the weekly 8 and the weekly 20 ping-ponging off of this area. My biggest thing that I want to point out is that we have a fatty seller wick and a fatty buyer wick. So with this said, many times we'll see a consolidation period between those wicks before it decides to really sell or go above it or go below it. This is, pardon me, this is what they're calling a candle in control. So making sure that you understand that this will be interesting to see if we can get out of this position here on this weekly. Actually, it's kind of a pain. You might see a consolidation period between here and here within the two. So be ready for that. It's going to be really fun. You guys will be able to make some cash if you know how to play ranges. Let's move this here. Next one we'll get into. Here we go. ADA. Let's see if ADA looks the same. If so, we can just move along with it. Yeah, so it pretty much looks like Bitcoin. We are finding support in this level again. So if you guys took this trade again, awesome on ADA. Nice little area. We did push through this area here, made a little bit of cash, but then sold through. Like I said, it was a weak zone already, but we did find support here, or not support, but we did find resistance at that previous support. So there you go. Let's go ahead and go into the next one. Solana. Pretty much playing off the same thing. Let's go ahead. It's the same. Let's check out Doge. Dogecoin, you can see here, is definitely finding some support down at our level on our daily area right here. But we definitely went through this area here as I was talking about. And this is looking nice. Really nice for a nice little short. So be ready for the pull back up to this area here on the daily and even 4 hour, but we're bouncing off that 4 hour 8 period. We could see a major sell off into this area here. We did find a little bit of support on that daily moving average. Where is the 4 hour? Yeah, this is the 4 hour moving or 4 hour zone here. So if the SMA start to sell off against it, guys, this will probably be blown through real quick and easy. Just giving you guys a heads up on that. Let's go ahead and go next into dot. Looks the same thing. Be ready for it to come up and touch this. Let's look at the daily. Here you are. You can see it's a nice little play off of this. Be ready to play this. Came down into this area. Nice. Nice little gain here. You would have caught it around this level here. Once we started going through and putting in these wicks, buyer wicks here, you would have known to get long in this area here. So we would have been long somewhere around in here from the, never go long on a green candle. So this area is where we were looking to probably be long. Let's check out the 15-minute. Oh yeah, right in this area. Boom. Nice, nice, nice. Good credit. The next one here is we can play Matic. Pretty similar to what we're seeing on the 5-minute. Daily looks the same thing. Hit our zone here on the weekly here. As you guys can see, now we're seeing a rally up, bounced off of that 20 period moving average, pretty clear. So you would have had a good entry point at this level. Put your stop below in this area here and just watch it rally up. Monthly, how we doing on it? Not as bad as a few of the other ones. Still have a big seller wick though. I don't see it going through this, at least on Matic, just simply because you got zone there. In addition, you have the 20 period moving average. I see more or less Matic playing in between the 8 moving average you can see here, and also the 20 moving average from these levels. So be ready to play both of them here. Remember, previous supply or previous demand becomes supply. So be looking to capture a return or a supply wick at these levels here. So we can probably play this here. Here we are. Here guys go. Let's go ahead and play now into Shiba. Shiba looks pretty much the same as we're watching. We can just move some of the stuff here. Here we are. Definitely. So we do have a rally point, at least up into this level here on Shiba Inu if we do continue. The only issue is we have so many moving average in the way, just like we see with all the other charts. So again, I'm more bearish in regards to here. We are definitely finding supply step in, and now it looks like it might be continuing down to the downside. We're not seeing a lot of volume step in to SHIB at these levels. Again, I am definitely more of a buyer down at the 972 area into the 6 mark here. I do think we're going to be coming in here. It's just basically setting up a bear flag to where we can see it drop again. So we'll see what happens, but I'm pretty positive that's what it's going to do. Next, we can go into Leo. Leo's just looking different. Actually, they were showing so much strength, and then they just got demolished. I brought this up, this big seller wick here last week. So they are definitely getting demolished. So I would just be careful if you're trading Leo. Be ready to short if you need to short. Don't hesitate on that. Make sure you use correct support and resistance and risk management reporting. All right, risk management usage on your trade. But yeah, I see Leo continuing down into these lower levels here pretty quick at that $3 mark easily. So anyways, that's it in a nutshell, guys. Thanks for coming to the show. I hope everybody enjoyed it. If you guys have any questions, things that you want me to use, please hit me up. Diggs BT, what's up, brother? How you doing? Hey, what's up, G? Hey, what's up, man? I just saw that. Forgive me. How you doing, Diggs? How you doing, Diggs? Um, so yeah, hope everybody's doing well. Yeah, this weekend was a really unique weekend after the merge. The other thing I wanted to bring up also is, man, can you believe how much energy Ethereum has saved? I was just shocked. I mean, literally 99.9%, literally point. Well, I've seen some articles say point zero or 0.2% and 0.1%. So it has been a crazy upgrade for Ethereum. It's one of those things that I'm sitting there going like, wow, it's crazy. So, um, like I said, I think the institutions want to push Ethereum down so they can get in at a really good price. Um, I think that's really what's happening. And a lot of the banks and institutions, they have months, they have years. They know that, they have analysts saying that, well, a bear market in crypto could last 2 years, right? A year to 2 years, right? Before we start to see the Bitcoin halving start to come about and really push things again. So it's just really interesting to see where we're at, what's going on, and how they're setting things up for the institute, or how the institutions are setting things up. I look forward to it because I think the primary people who are shorting Ethereum are the institutions. And I think they're shorting it from a different venue, right? ETH USD short. Yeah, you can see they bounced right off here. Now their shorts are stepping back in. So I think what they did is they made money in the traditional future markets and stuff like that, and then now they're taking it back into the blockchain and putting in their shorts again. So we'll see what happens, man. I know they could definitely make more money in traditional markets just because their leverage is so much higher than ours, and that's their wheelhouse, right? So they can definitely play in that level, on that level. So we'll see what happens there. All right, guys, thank you so much for coming in. Last week we had 4 hour um, segments, and it was nuts. And so for each day, so I'm trying to keep these down to 1 hour, going in, hitting the top 10 coins. If they look the same, that was one of the complaints that people brought in and said, hey, man, they all look the same. You're saying the same thing for each one. So I said, and so what was brought to my mind, they said, hey, listen, just go over the top 10 or the top 3 or 4 and then do the traditional markets and maybe something else, something that's standing out, something that's moving. Like I brought in Leo because I just thought that was so unique. I thought they were going to hold, right? Thinking, man, this is really interesting. They're holding against the market here. And man, they just had that massive sell off. And I was just like, whoa. So I wanted to bring that up to light saying, hey, I was wrong in that. I was wrong. So listen, just as well, I like to celebrate my wins. I also like to celebrate my losses because you know what? From your losses is what you use to learn and grow even more. So, yeah, I just want to encourage you guys, stay safe, stay blessed. Make sure the only thing you control is your stop loss. So be wise enough to place and know where to use your stop loss. And then one last thing, if you guys have any questions, any concerns, you can find me in Moonrock Coin. And I'm going to, again, put their connections here. Let me go ahead and put it. You can find them. You can also ask me questions in their Telegram by just going in and just hitting it up. If you go into the Telegram and just say, yeah, I have a question for Pedro. I do morning little recaps there every morning there. You can guys check me out there. I've started doing that. I might be doing it also with a few other organizations like Coin Launch, or excuse me, not Coin Launch, but with Ninja Lounge, and I am working with them in regards to just connecting with them. They know a lot of projects and a lot of other things, so it'd be great to just be able to connect with them as well. And then I'm in relations with, not relations, I mean, I've been communicating, talking with Brian and with Coin Launch Lounge, trying to get him to come in here and talk, and because he loves charting, and it'd be great just to connect with him and talk more. We are looking to put this into a podcast system, okay? And so with that said, with that podcast system, you'll be able to find us on all major podcast providers, from Spotify to iTunes to Google Podcasts and all the other major ones, iHeart. And so be looking forward to that, where you can capture and listen to us. And then at the same time, right, you can get your questions asked. So if ever we get super large and we start getting to the hundreds of thousands, maybe even millions of viewers, who knows? Anything is possible, right? If any of you guys were to start shilling that video of me calling out the Ethereum drop, that would be awesome. But that's just, each person is different. So, that's it, guys. I want to give you a heads up of what we have coming. Tomorrow we're going to have Brinks come on. Hopefully Brian will come on with the coin. The Ninja Lounge will probably step in for a few, pop in and say hi. And then hopefully Crypto Mike, or Crypto Bull Mike, will be coming in again. He's had phone issues regarding his, and he's been trying to take care of it. So that's why he hasn't been in. I would call him the comedy relief. I'm all technical. I'm all data, right? And he's much more just jovial, and he kind of puts a good spin to me. He's the fun part to Pedro, Pedro Moonrock, or Pedro Garcia, the crypto analysis. So analyst, analysis. Anyways, guys, have a blessed day, and I will see you guys tomorrow, same time, same place, and many blessings. Bye. There we go. There it is. All right, guys, many blessings. Stay safe out there.